the business is one of the most needy girlfriends you've ever had. Your employees are like their friends, right? You're dealing with their friends and you're dealing with, everyone's talking and it's great. But at the same time, like, it's exhausting for you as a business owner.
Positivity in your company and in your culture isn't always just showing up with a smile on your face. A lot of the times it's saying, hey guys, this is who I am. This is what you're going to get from me. But I want to do something big, and I want to make sure that everything that you want from a job is made possible through me.
Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners, Evan Ritchie and Cameron Bodden, share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
Let's talk about happiness in business and the importance of positivity in leadership and how it's one of the single greatest principles that you can attribute to a good and happy culture can almost always be traced back to a happy and positive leader. Cameron, because you are not that, and we can talk about the net... But that's how we should transition, because I feel like, no, hear me out. Hear me out. You've invested more money than anyone I know, like in my little network for personal development, leadership development, life, communication, everything. And I could be wrong, but I feel like one of the reasons that you've been doing it now is so that you can like better interact with the people that work here. And so I joke that like that's not you, but like what I've always loved and admired about you is how much you've invested in your ability to not only understand like your audience as far as customers, but also being able to interact with your people and help inspire them and help try to kind of take them through what they're going through in their own personal lives and help elevate them to where you're going as well. It's not easy. And I feel like you've put a lot of money into bettering yourself to relate to them so that you are a more effective and positive leader.
Yeah, there's just as a business owner, you're dealing with so many different types of personalities that it's important to understand as much as you can, like the psychology of how people look at things. And that's where Mark's been such a huge game changer for me. And obviously I'm better at it than I have been, but tons of improvement to go. And I know that. But when you're dealing with people and, as their first job, that's a completely different person that's maybe in their mid 40s or even 30s, or someone that has experience in the industry or doesn't, someone that's married, someone that's has kids. There's just, everyone's going through something different, a different challenge, a different season in their life, to where they're going to react differently to how you say yes or no to a promotion, to how you ask them to be a little bit better or to improve their KPIs. And if you don't know the signs of what to look for when someone's engaged, especially their ego or how someone's reacting, it's just going to be a miserable uphill battle for you as a business owner, trying to deal with all these different types of people. Because I talk about a lot, like the business is one of the most needy girlfriends you've ever had. Your employees are like their friends, right? You're dealing with their friends and you're dealing with, everyone's talking and it's great. But at the same time, like, it's exhausting for you as a business owner because you have to deal with so many different types of people.
Yeah. I hear a lot that people love Cameron outside of work. And I'm not saying they don't like Cameron inside of work, but you're like I say, you're the Kobe Bryant. You work hard. You want people to work hard. You want them to be accountable. And then you also do such a freaking good job at like going to the dunes with former business partners or being with employees that maybe, there's been a little bit of tension at work. How you have a good switch. So has that been inherent for you, or has that been something that you've had to master?
As a business owner, I feel like you have to be pretty intentional with your relationships, because one, especially as a business owner, depending on your size, now we're north of 150 people at Green Mango. If I show that like fun dune sized side Cameron or golf course Cameron, I can show that fun, but then they almost expect it every single time. And then when it comes into where it's like, hey, I need you to do your job, it's almost like confusing for them. And that's where I try and be intentional, to where like I try and have fun with that person and not ask too in-depth questions about them personally, aside from just like, hey, how you doing? How's work going? And kind of keep it more professional on the surface. And that's intentionally, because it's just that once that line gets crossed one time, now they expect it. And then what I found is when I have crossed that line, I just let people down, because I can't maintain that like quality of friend that you're talking, whoever it is that you're talking about, like maybe that they see me on the golf course. Like every Thursday I have like my pickleball friends.
It's me. It's how I feel.
Me. Like I have like Thursday night, I go play pickleball with Sean and Craig and either TC or Corey. Yeah, sometimes we play on Tuesdays. But like I can like let loose, and I can ask them how work's going for them, and I can get like really, really deep with them, because like that's consistent. They've been my friends for a long time. But if I come in and do that with a CSR, but I don't do that the next week with them, it's almost like oh, Cameron doesn't care about me anymore. And I hate that, because I do care about you, but I can't come have that like 30-minute conversation with you like I did the week before on a consistent basis. And that's intentional. Is that,
no,
is that
you were done talking. So
yes.
I want to go off that, because as you're saying that, it strikes a pain point with me that I've always struggled with internally, because some days I show up 100%, and some days I show up at 70%. And the amount of people that remind me, like, hey, you seem off. I'm like, I'm getting the job done, okay? Like, I'm getting the job.
Like today when you showed up.
Yeah. Or I start at 100%, and then by the time someone gets me at 2 o'clock, I've had, my face kicked in for, 6-7 hours. But I think I do struggle with the days that I choose to show up and choose to go out of my way, like Billy with Agave, one of the nicest people on the planet. He's out there right now doing a coconut truck. And I don't always talk to him, but he always tries to make time to talk. He's a very conversational kind of guy. But today I literally just like planted my feet and I just started talking to him. And we had a really good conversation for 3-4 minutes. And I said, hey, well, we're doing our podcast. I got to go. He's like, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to me. So it's these little things that I struggle with, where I'm like, man, today I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then I don't the next week. And then
I feel
it's
like it always comes back down to this. This is why we have to have great managers.
Yeah.
Because they need to be the ones that fill the cup. And then you need to come in as an owner and figure out what that consistency is. And so if you would have spent 30 minutes with Bill, and there's no like perfect formula, but this is my theory, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if you would have spent 30 minutes with Billy and got to like that next level of friendship, whatever that is for you guys, he now expects at least 30 minutes every single week.
Right.
And I don't know what your schedule is. I know you're not that busy, but like that might not be realistic, And that's where you get into problems as a business owner, is that like so that's why I try and stay consistent with everyone. It's like I come in, I say hi, I ask how they're doing, and I try and play games with them on Fridays, and I try and like have that level of relationship to where it's like, hey, I care. But then your manager is the one where I want them spending 30 minutes with you at least a week, if not a day. Just like, how's the wife? How's the kids? How's the hobbies? Like, what are you doing for fun? What are your goals in life? What are you working towards? That's what's important. But we can't do that. If you have a business of 7 people, yeah, you need to be that guy and you need to do that. But once you get over that 7, around anything north of 7, like you need to start being careful of where you spend that time, because you're just gonna let yourself down, and you're gonna let other people down.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to me real quick, because I don't want to. I just got a message today. For every 30 messages you get on Instagram, I get about 90. But I got a message, and the guy was saying, "Hey, I'm in Virginia, Illinois, something like that. I do power washing. I really appreciate what you and Cameron, same guys.
I don't know. Wasn't there a pressure washer guy?
Yeah,
that reached out?
he said that, like, he basically said, like, I really appreciate what you guys do. Like, I appreciate how raw and real it is. And I feel like we're living in this like current era where it's really fun for a lot of people to expose fake gurus. And I was talking to you the other day and you're like, man, why don't you just go sell a bunch of franchises? And I said, well, Cam, like, what we have here is amazing, but I feel like if I want to sell the dream, I need to perfect the dream and I need to get the dream myself. And as we interact with our managers and as we get their hopes, their ambitions, and as we walk around and maybe one day they're not up to speed and they look a little bit down, it's like, that's where I just come in and I give them that 30 minutes, hour, whatever, take them out to lunch real quick, talk to them, refill their cup, and then they go right back in there. Mm-hmm. But we got demolished. Me and you, I'll speak for myself. We got wrecked this last month. Just a lot of things going on, right? And I think it illustrated the importance of a lot of people want like the owner's time. And because of a few people leaving and terminations, the people under them, we were kind of going in and doing damage control. And a lot of them were like, man, I want to talk to Cameron. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, let's get you in front of Cameron and talk. So how do you balance what you just gave about 4 or 5 employees, taking them to dinner, having them over at your house, and like, what's the
it's
plan
not good
there?
because I just set myself up, but I had to do it too. It's not like I don't love it. You know, I do love it, but it's not sustainable.
But when you have 150.
Yeah. Like I told you, like,
yeah.
You know, Seth was over at my house till 1:30, 2 o'clock. I loved meeting with him, but I can't do that. Like, it's not sustainable. I didn't see the kids that day. I spent like 30 minutes with my wife. Like, that just opens up a slew of other things. And so it's not that I don't love it. I do love it. I don't want people to hear that. If I could spend 30 minutes with every single employee, I would, because I know that they'd be better and they would catch the vision from me. But that's where the people come into play, and that it just doubles down on that. But yeah, I feel like I just shot myself in the foot. It's one of those things that had to be done, because if someone wants to talk to me, of course I'm going to talk to them and give them that time and help them understand where I'm coming from and sell them on the vision. But there's going to be some level of expectation there. And I tried to do my best that I could with Seth while he was there. I just said, look, man, like, I want to have a relationship with you. I want to have this friendship, you know, but it's hard for me because I don't have enough time in the day with all the things I'm trying to balance. And so I hope that you can understand that I'm always here for you. I hope he came over at like 11:30. We spent 2.5 hours together. I shared
11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Oh my
I shared
gosh,
as much time as I shared as much as I could with him about the situation from my point of view. And it was like, I gave him all I had, and
he'll probably never forget it too. But yeah, and that's what I'm trying to hit on, is that as an owner, you're pulled in so many directions. And again, he'll probably never forget it, but there's going to be that part of him where it's like, he's going to want that again in some shape, form, or fashion, even if it was in a quarter. And it's like, hey, I can't even do that I can't even do that. And I feel like, like we've mentioned it a few times, and we can pivot into like the importance of managers and holding that expectation.
Well, I just think that's where, like, I might not be able to do that again, but saying hi on a consistent basis, giving him the text, you know, the dabbing him up.
Thanks, bro.
Sending him a happy birthday, happy anniversary text, the quarterly parties, making sure I'm talking to him. When I see him around the office, saying hi. If he has a huge sales day, texting him. Like, those are the kind of acknowledgments that I think you can maintain. But the whole like personable 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours a month, like, that's where people just get let down. And it means so much to them. So someone in your organization needs to be filling that cup on your behalf. Yeah. And that's why, you know, not to be dumb here, but like, that's why you're so important to me, is because like, you do fill that cup for a lot of the managers, right? You spend that time with them, and I know you have my back to tell them how much I appreciate them. And so like, you're filling their cup for me, and then it's like, we're meeting together, and I try and keep your cup as empty as I can.
I've never heard a more true statement. I'm like, keep going, man. Facts. That's facts right there.
I gotta keep you on your edge.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
can't even like cry a little tear of truth, but like, yeah. And like yesterday, you and I got finance department lunch. I said, hey, like me and Cameron got you guys lunch. It's just, it's those little things where as you start interacting with managers, I'm now seeing it too, where I have some people come up to me and they're like, hey, like, thank you so much for the polo. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, I don't know if it's like because we just make it available or whatever. And hey, Gustavo gave me this and said you guys wanted me to have this. And I'm just like, man, the managers are in it full time. And to all the entrepreneurs out there and anybody that's currently in business and doesn't really know how to like scale and start building outward so that you can go up, starting with your managers is huge. Like we always have this focus as entrepreneurs to give the customers value. And then we reverse engineer the process, or we do it backwards, and then we tax our people to go above and beyond for our customer. And I think at some point you end up just getting like a few bitter employees, where I feel like we've made a dramatic shift in trying to not, and again, it's not like, oh, we're only going to focus on our employees, but we try to provide an insane amount of value to them, whether that's through pay. I think we've now had it confirmed that we're paying 13 to 25% over for almost every position in this industry. Mm-hmm. And so not only with pay, but also quality of life and having certain structures that shouldn't have them being taxed too much. And so to anybody out there not really knowing how to get a little more positivity into your culture, start with your people, start with investing in your people. I told Cole, I said, hey man, we spend $400,000 to $500,000 from the manufacturer that makes us all the product for cleaning. They don't give us anything. I said, if you can call them and get something out of it, like whatever it is, like I'll give you a portion of whatever it is. Yeah. And so he's like, okay, cool, I'll hop on the phone. But like, I just know like we have friends that get vacations and parties paid for by other, organizations, and they turn it back around and give it to the employees. And I feel like for any culture to have a sense of positivity and feeling of safety, you have to put all your focus and energy into them, and then they turn around and give it to the customer. And so to your point, you can't give that to Seth really again, but you can check in, you can stop in, you can say hi. And then it's my belief that we have a lot of the people that we do because of those little check-ins, or they'll have a story like, no, when I needed it most, Cameron stepped in here, Evan stepped in here, and they really helped us out.
I was going to say, like, yeah, and you don't always have to show up like with that that huge smile on your face, because letting them know once in a while, like there's a balance here too, but like, hey, like we've had a bad sales month, or we have high resource rates right now, or high cancellations. And that's the power of sharing your KPIs with your managers. And once again, going back to the managers, they're the most important part. Like, you cannot scale a company unless you have a great team around you, because when those managers take that information to their team, they can choose to come down hard with a hammer, or come down with, hey guys, we can do better, but this is where it is, where it's at, or whatever approach they want to take. You just hope that they're handling it, and then the next month it improves. James Cook, right, with the CSRs, we were having some really bad hold times, some really average time on the phone. Like, all of our KPIs on the phones were pretty bad a few months ago. I think like the longest hold time a CSR had was 10 seconds. And that's just areas of focus. That's him going to his team and saying, hey, we're better than this, guys. Like, we can do better. Yeah. And that's the benefit of having a manager, because now I can go in there, and when I walk in, Natalie's my favorite person. Have you seen the numbers today, Cam? It's like, I love that you're aware of the numbers. I never even had to say anything to you about the numbers. I worked through your manager laid down the hammer, or did it with love, however he did it, but he did it with you guys, and now you're aware of the numbers and you're getting better. And then the people want to talk to me about it when I walk through and say hi. And that's what's so great about, that's the fun part about being an entrepreneur and coming in, is being able to meet with your people, hear them repeat to you like how well they're doing based off of their KPIs, and knowing that they know it.
I forget Grant Mitt. I forget the gentleman on social media. but he was talking, or maybe it was, I don't know who it was, but I like the principle because you've helped me appreciate it more. And it sounds more negative than it actually is intended. But he said, you don't know how selfish I've had to be so that I can become selfless.
Dang.
And I loved that because I've always been like, well, Cam, I care about the people. I'm willing to sacrifice going to the gym, doing all this stuff so that I can be with my people and go to the meetings and make sure they know I'm present. But I was showing up for everyone but me.
Yeah.
And I feel like to introduce a very healthy culture into the company where people are not only looking out for the company and themselves, they need to see it from the top, and they need to see a leader that takes care of themselves first. And it permits them then to turn back around and say, hey, look, I heard you got this going on in your life. You pull them in privately. I want to, Venmo this to you, and I hope it helps. Yeah. You can't do that unless there's a little bit of selfish behavior, not only in the beginning of the company, in the middle, and also as you're trying to grow. And so what are some things that have been hard for you, or maybe easy for you because it allows you to take care of the company, but what are some things that you've learned to do for yourself so that you can show up for everyone else?
I think just being, like working out is one of the biggest things for me, right? So doing the gym in the morning, I very rarely let anything get in the way of that. If it does, like it's something super rare. And then trying to be home at 5:00 with my kids. So that way when I'm at work, like I'm at work, when I'm home, I'm at home. And there's so many meetings I've had to cut off early or, not agree to just so I can be home at 5. Or there's a lot of networking things that I didn't go to that happen at 8:00 in the morning. The past couple months I was coming in I haven't been to a tech meeting in years, right? But we saw this leadership change with our branch manager in the East Valley. It's like, okay, I'm showing up every day or every Tuesday at whatever it was, 6:30 or 7:00, right, for this meeting. And I did that for a while, and we saw the impact that had. And so I'm aware that, you as the CEO or business owner, like you're making the biggest difference because no one will care more than you. And you just need to recognize that, right? And so you need to show up for those people when it's time, but you also need to pull back and let people run. And that's the hardest switch for a lot of entrepreneurs to make, that it's like, I need to hire my first person, but they're not going to be as great as I am. Well, no, like no one's going to be as great as you are, and you just need to manage those expectations. So then have those KPIs in place and then let those do the talking once you guys both agree on those. I was talking to one of my buddies today because I called him for some advice on some stuff. He owns another pest control company. And he's like, dude, the minute I let this person run my business and I just got out of it, we had the best sales year ever. And I'm like, dang, that kind of hurts, right? And he's like, no, because like the stress that I would carry as the business owner and bring around the office was like hurting the company to where people couldn't like relax and just do their job. And he just said like it was really an interesting, like hard pill to swallow. And like he's a control freak like I am.
That's great. Advice.
But like I couldn't you want
that's
you want me to step away? Evan's like, please go. But like that takes a lot, and maybe that's where we're at right now, is like all the KPIs are in place, and that's our goal. April 15th right now, I told you, I'm like, hey, there's a new structure that I want to set in place. I want to have a meeting with you. I want to have a meeting with our sales manager and our CMO. That's it. And then I want you to have your meetings with those department managers, and I want you to get them over with Monday and Tuesdays. And I want Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to be open. I don't want you babysitting these guys throughout the whole week. If you're having to babysit them and be in all these meetings and deal with all the problems and put out the fires for them, like, are they do they have enough training? And two, if they do have the training, they might not be our right person. And I think we're finally getting down to the people that are the right managers for us, that can go handle a fire without us being involved. And that's my favorite thing when a manager comes to me and is like, they feel overwhelmed or their work-life balance isn't there. I just say, what if you had seven of yous on your team? Or what if you had 7 of me's on your team? How often would I call you? Oh, you would never call me. It's like, yeah. So I'm not that special. I just care, and it's work ethic. So go train your guy. And if you have someone on your team that's lazy or doesn't show up or isn't, doing what you want to do, make sure he's trained properly. If he is and he's still that way, then cut bait with them and find someone else. And that's where you have to get with your people.
I love it. And I think you've been a great example. And, you know, like I said, when you have a good, happy, and healthy culture, I think this could all be summed up that you create an infrastructure that allows people to take the original why behind the company starting, which is you wanted to, one, be something different, but also offer a pest control that followed through with what they said and had amazing branding and gave the customers an experience that they've never had before, so they can take everything you started and run with it. And the more things that are implemented are their ideas, the more likely it is for it to succeed because they want it to succeed. And so I think having a good, happy, healthy culture is having standards, having principles, having rules, but then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, this is yours to sink or swim. I'm here to help. Here are some resources you have, but make this work. And I think what people are going to realize is that if they're not liking what they're seeing as far as the production, it's going to reflect back on them, and they're going to be more hopefully inspired to get better, level up. And once you have an organization where all the leaders of every department are doing so, you're going to go far.
The one great thing about us going through like such a hard time the past 6 months is that like it's shown who the people are that like are really in it with us. Because when things are going, you know, smooth and peachy, everyone's there, everyone's happy, everyone's with you, and everyone's in. But then as soon as it's like, dude, we got to get better here and there, and we got to improve here, and you have to go have that hard conversation with someone on your team, like then you find out who's really on your team. And that's what's been great about this past 6 months is like now we know who's on our team. Like there's been people that I didn't even think were the right people that now I'm like, all right, like they're with us, and I love that.
Especially when they know you're going through it and you know that they're off at 4, and then you see them kind of lingering around 4:30, 4:35, and they're like, hey, what do you need? Yeah. I was telling Kathleen, I was doing Kathleen's quarterly, and I'm like, Kathleen, this last month meant the world for me in terms of like our relationship. Because when I was going through it the most, and I was telling her, like, I'd get here at 6:30, and then meeting, and then there would always come a point where I'd walk out, and it's 4:30, 5 o'clock, and all the lights are off, and then there was always one light. And if James Sisko's office was still here, there would be 2 lights, and if Kate's office was over here, there'd be 3 lights. And they knew we were going through it. They didn't know all the ways they could help us. They just did their jobs better, and they offered more value. And I think not only does it make us want to invest more in them, but it helps us understand, okay, the more we can duplicate who they are and look out for those kind of characteristics and qualities, I think the better off we're going to be as we grow and as we scale.